Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are finally here, the end of the Arabasta saga.
Chapter 217, Stowaway. An ending and a very, very unexpected beginning.
Unexpected is not the word. We just had one of the most emotional goodbyes in the entire series. The crew is heartbroken, the kingdom is saved. It feels like we should be fading to black, rolling the credits on this massive arc. And then a ghost from the past walks onto the deck of the Going Merry.
And she doesn't just walk on. She makes a request that could change the entire dynamic of the Straw Hat crew forever. It is a moment that feels less like an epilogue and more like a brand new prologue.
It is an absolute bombshell of an ending. If you want to be here for the moment we find out what Luffy says, make sure you're following the show. We're breaking down this whole journey, and you do not want to get left behind at the port.
Let's start not at the end, but with another new face, a Marine this time.
Right, so the Straw Hats have escaped, but the Navy is still cleaning up. We meet Marine Captain Black Cage Hina, and what an intro. She's taking down the last of Mr. Two's guys, and her power is just slick. She has this whole vibe that's just effortlessly cool.
One of Bon Carré's men tries to attack her, and she just puts her arm straight through him. Not in a violent way, but it's like a cage flows out of her and wraps around him instantly. There's no big wind-up, no shouted attack name, just efficiency.
He's completely restrained in a black iron ring, no struggle, no chance to escape. One touch, fight's over. And who's there fawning over her? Jango and Fullbody, the guys from Syrup Village and the Baroque. I could not believe it.
They've found their place in the Marines, it seems, and they're completely devoted to Hina. Fullbody is the one who names her devil fruit for us, the Ori Ori no Mi, the cage fruit.
It's just so good to see them. I mean, they were jokes when we met them. Jango was this weirdo moonwalking hypnotist, and Fullbody got his face caved in by Sanji for wasting food. And now look at them. They're in the Grand Line. They've got sharp uniforms. They're part of a crew run by a total powerhouse. It's a real glow-up.
It speaks to a recurring idea that even seemingly directionless or foolish people can find purpose under the right leadership. Jango and Fullbody have found it with Hina. The Marines as an institution provide a structure that some people desperately need.
And Hina's whole vibe is just perfect for that. She's annoyed, she's direct, she talks in the third person like Hina is disappointed. It's so weird and memorable. She's not here to play around. And the person she's annoyed with on the phone is Smoker.
She calls him out. She says he seemed happy that Luffy got away from her, and you can just feel the history there, the way they talk, the casual insults, the lack of formality. They came up together, you can tell.
He doesn't even deny it. That's the best part. He just has that little grin. Smoker's playing by his own rules, and Hina sees it clear as day. I love this new dynamic. It's not just faceless Marines anymore. We have Smoker and Tashigi with their own unique brand of justice, and now Hina's crew, who seem much more by the book. The Navy's getting characters.
It shows the institution is complex. There are factions and personal relationships, not just a single unified force. Hina represents a different kind of Marine justice than Smoker does. Her power is about capture and restraint. It's absolute. You are either free or you are in her cage. There's no gray area. Smoker, on the other hand, lives in the gray area. He lets Luffy go because it feels like the right thing to do. He sees the nuances.
It makes you wonder what their academy days were like. Were they rivals, friends, both? It adds so much texture to the world. The Marines aren't just one big blob of the bad guys. They're people with friendships and histories and conflicting ideals. It makes the world feel so much more real.
And while all this is happening, Arabasta is starting to heal. The citizens are still trying to figure out who Vivi was talking to in her speech, but they're just happy she's okay. They're getting back to rebuilding.
The joy is palpable. We get these little panels of people cleaning up, laughing, sharing food. The dust has settled, both literally and figuratively. We even see the Kung Fu Dugong celebrating with their little master. The whole country is breathing a collective sigh of relief.
It's the aftermath of a civil war. These people have been through unimaginable trauma, manipulated into hating their neighbors and their king. Seeing them come together is incredibly cathartic.
My favorite little moment is with Toto and Yuba. He's just laughing his head off, and everyone else, including Koza, thinks he's finally lost it from the heat. They're genuinely concerned for him.
But he's not crazy. He's just remembering Luffy. He's holding on to the memory of digging for water side by side with this ridiculous straw-headed kid. Remembering their promise, that fight for the last drop of water. He's thinking about his friend.
That's the Straw Hat effect, man. They don't just beat the bad guy. They leave these little pockets of hope and friendship everywhere they go. Toto's got this private, happy memory of Luffy that's all his own. He's guarding it. It's beautiful. It wasn't some grand speech or a heroic pose. It was just a kid who refused to give up on a dried-up oasis. That's what Toto is holding on to.
It's a reminder that Luffy's impact is deeply personal. He doesn't change systems, he changes people, one by one. And those people then go on to change their own worlds. Koza looks at his father figure with confusion, but Toto understands something fundamental about Luffy that Koza doesn't yet.
And at the palace, Cobra is reflecting on Vivi. He and Igaram are watching the kingdom come back to life, and he's just in awe of how much his daughter has grown.
He says he feels like he's watching a stranger, but in the best possible way. He sent a child out into the world, and a leader came back.
How could you not be in awe? She just saved the entire country. She stood up to a warlord and won. She's not just a princess anymore. She's a stateswoman. She's a warrior. She's seen the worst of the world and chose to fight for the best in it. Cobra has every right to be the proudest dad in the world right now.
Then the mood shifts. We go to Chaka, visiting a grave marker for Pell.
Yeah, this part was heavy. It's just this simple sword stuck in the sand with Pell's headdress on it. So stark. Chaka standing there trying to mourn his friend, his partner, the other guardian of the kingdom, and he says he can't pry. He finds it strange.
Because on some level, maybe he doesn't believe he's gone, or the shock is just too profound. Pell was one of the two strongest fighters in the nation, one of the two pillars supporting the royal family. To lose him like that, it's a wound that goes deeper than tears. It's a structural wound to the entire kingdom.
You can feel the loneliness in that panel. It was always Chaka and Pell, the jackal and the falcon. Now it's just Chaka. He's shouldering the entire burden of being the kingdom's guardian alone. Of course he can't process it yet. It's too much.
It speaks to a warrior's grief, a profound sense of loss for a comrade that short-circuits the normal emotional response. He feels he should be weeping, but the reality of it is too vast to comprehend.
And as Vivi and Karoo watch the Marines sailing away, chasing her friends, she's finally wiping her own tears. It's like the whole country is processing this immense trauma and loss, but also finding the strength to move forward. She's crying for her friends, for the goodbye she couldn't have, and for the weight of the crown she's now fully accepted.
But then we get a little bit of levity, a scene with the royal guards talking about Matsuge, the camel.
The pervy camel. I love this guy. They're wondering why Vivi made him a member of the super spot-billed duck troops, and the answer is just because he tried his best. It's such a perfect, goofy little moment to break the tension. Even in the middle of all this epic rebuilding, life goes on. Camels get promotions for being brave. It's the kind of detail that makes the world of One Piece feel so lived in.
It's also a reflection of Vivi's leadership. She rewards effort and loyalty no matter how small or strange the recipient. It's a charming detail that says a lot about the kind of ruler she will become. And then we get the scene that answers Chaka's problem, a doctor's office out in the desert.
I was reading this thinking, okay, where is this going? Some random guy has been treated for some injuries. He's leaving, thanking the doctor. He's all wrapped in bandages. The doctor tells him to get some rest. It feels like just a little slice of life scene to show the country is healing.
And just as the man leaves, the doctor calls out, "You forgot something," and he holds up a white hood with stars on it.
Pell, he's alive. I actually yelled when I saw it. The madman survived. He took a city-leveling bomb to the face, and he is alive. That is one of the toughest feats we have ever seen in this series, bar none.
It's a Zoan-type user's endurance, perhaps. Maybe the falcon fruit grants incredible vitality. But still, to survive a blast of that magnitude is almost unheard of. It resets the scale of what's possible in this world.
We thought his story was about the ultimate sacrifice, but it's been turned into a story about ultimate endurance.
It makes his sacrifice even better because he was fully willing to die. He didn't know he'd survive. He flew that bomb into the heavens expecting it to be the end. He had his flashback. He said his goodbyes. He accepted his fate for the sake of his country. That heroic intent is what matters. His survival doesn't cheapen that at all. It rewards it. What a hero.
And it neatly explains why Chaka couldn't cry. The spirit of his friend, his other half, is not gone from the world. On some instinctual level, it seems like he knew. It's a powerful way to connect those two different scenes.
The country rebuilds at an amazing rate, we're told. Of course it does. They have their princess, they have hope, and they have both of their guardian deities still watching over them, even if they don't know it yet. It's the perfect, hopeful button on Arabasta's recovery.
Now we cut back out to sea. To Smoker's ship.
Tashigi's finally awake, and she is pissed. Smoker pours her some taffy, and he's looking at Luffy and Zoro's new bounty posters, and he just starts laying out the facts. Pure exposition, but it feels so earned.
It's a recap, but from the perspective of the law. He lays out exactly what Zoro did. He took down 100 bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak. He defeated the assassin Daz Bones, also known as Mr. One.
He even gives us Mr. One's real name. How cool is that? It's not just some code name. He was a known killer from the West Blue. It just adds another layer of legitimacy to Zoro's victory. He didn't just beat a Baroque Works agent, he beat a famous assassin. And because of that, Zoro gets his first bounty. That is a monster starting bounty.
And Luffy's is even higher. Smoker connects the dots. All the powerful people Crocodile recruited, the ones the world government couldn't even touch, were taken down by the Straw Hats. The government tried to cover it up, giving Smoker and Tashigi the credit, but the truth is leaking out. And because their threat level is now officially recognized with these new bounties, the hunt is back on.
A bounty that high puts him in the big leagues now. That's a number that gets people's attention. That's a number that says, this is not just some rookie kid anymore. This is a major player. And Tashigi is all in. She's more determined than ever. She's crying from the shame of her defeat and the frustration of the government cover-up. I love this duo so much. They lost, but they aren't defeated. They're just regrouping and coming back stronger. Smoker is the perfect recurring antagonist for Luffy.
He's not an antagonist. He's a rival. He operates on a code of justice that Luffy's actions constantly challenge. He's not evil, he's just on the other side. This scene cements that. He's frustrated by the system he serves, but his personal mission to capture Luffy is now stronger than ever. It's a personal vendetta rooted in a weird kind of respect.
Exactly, and that's way more interesting. But while Smoker and Tashigi are getting fired up, the mood on the Going Merry is the complete opposite.
It's a funeral procession. Zoro reports that the Marines aren't chasing them anymore, and he turns around to see everyone else just slumped over in misery. The energy is completely gone.
Luffy, Nami, Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, all of them are just heartbroken that they had to leave Vivi behind. And it's so real. You feel that emptiness after a huge event is over and a friend is gone. They just went through a war with her. She was a crewmate, period. The bond they formed was the real deal, and saying goodbye actually hurts.
It's the quiet after the storm. They have no new destination, no new enemy to fight. They are adrift, literally and emotionally. And in that quiet, the absence of Vivi is a tangible presence on the ship.
Zoro, of course, has no patience for it.
He's always the one to force the crew to face forward. He's pragmatic to a fault.
He just says, if you miss her that much, we should have just kidnapped her. And they all just turn on him. Sanji calls him a Marimo, Nami calls him a brute, Usopp calls him an ignoramus. It's an instant explosion of frustration.
Luffy's insult doesn't even make sense, which Usopp points out, and that just makes Zoro angrier. It's such a perfect human moment.
It's such a perfect Straw Hat moment. It's hilarious, it's full of character, and it's a little bit sad all at once. It's the family squabbling after a tough time to avoid dealing with the real hurt. They're taking it out on Zoro because he's the one saying the thing they can't admit, that they have to move on. And then she speaks.
A voice from off-screen. A woman says, "We've finally made it out to sea."
And the whole mood just snaps. The comedic tension, the sadness, it all vanishes and gets replaced by pure shock. Zoro's instantly on guard. Nami's freaking out. Sanji's got hearts in his eyes. Usopp is screaming about an enemy. Chopper is just confused, and Luffy is just kind of surprised.
And standing there, calm as can be, leaning against the railing as if she owns the place, is Nico Robin, Miss All Sunday.
The second in command of the organization they just risked their lives to destroy. The woman who was Crocodile's partner. The one who dropped Igorum's ship out of the sky and threatened Vivi multiple times. She's just there, on their ship, in the middle of the ocean.
And before they can even react, she uses her Hana Hana no Mi powers. Hands sprout all over them, disarming Zoro, covering Usopp's mouth, holding Sanji back. She neutralizes the entire crew in a second without even moving from her spot.
The sheer confidence is off the charts. It's not even a fight, it's a statement. A statement that says, you are not in control here. I am. Nami asks when she even got on board, and Robin just says she's been there the whole time. She took a bath. She read a book. She borrowed Nami's clothes.
That last part seems to be the one that truly angers Nami. It's a violation of personal space that cuts deeper than any threat.
You don't mess with Nami's wardrobe. But okay, let's just process the absolute audacity of this. She stowed away on their ship to escape the Marines, used their facilities, and is now wearing the navigator's clothes. This is a power move on a whole different level. It's psychological warfare.
She's making it clear she is not an intruder in the traditional sense. She is inserting herself into their lives, into their home, without permission. And then she turns to Luffy, and she says, "Do you remember what you said to me?"
Sanji immediately gets in Luffy's face, thinking he hit on her or something. His chivalry instinct goes into overdrive. He's ready to defend her honor from his own captain. Classic Sanji.
Luffy is completely lost, as he often is, and Robin says, "You have to take responsibility," which only makes things worse for Sanji and more confusing for everyone else. It's such a loaded phrase, and she knows it. She is expertly manipulating the situation.
He finally just asks her what she wants. He's not angry, not scared, just confused. He cuts through all the drama and gets to the point. What do you want from us?
And she looks at him. The man who destroyed her entire world and in the process saved her life against her will. The man who shattered her 30-year plan. And she says the last thing any of them or any of us could have ever expected.
Let me join your crew.
The chapter ends. Just like that. A full-page spread on her face. Utterly serious.
What? What? She wants to join them? The crew that just toppled their entire operation? The crew's friend Vivi she personally antagonized multiple times? Bro, the guts on this woman, it is unbelievable. There is no precedent for this.
Think about her situation, though. Crocodile is gone, Baroque Works is shattered, the world government, as we saw with Smoker, wants her dead or captured. She has been on the run for a long time. The only protection she had, the tenuous alliance with a warlord, has just been obliterated by the boy in front of her. She has nowhere else to go.
So she goes to the one person who beat the man she couldn't escape from, the one person who refused to let her die in that tomb. That's a wild gamble, a desperate one. She's cornered, and her only move is to walk into the den of the lions that just took down her zookeeper.
She told Crocodile that her dream couldn't be achieved with him. Maybe she believes it can with Luffy. She saw something in him down in the crypt. He wasn't interested in the ancient weapon or power or control. He just wanted to protect his friend. Perhaps that's a quality she has never encountered before.
He didn't just beat Crocodile. He saved her. He forced her to live when all she wanted to do was die in that collapsing tomb. And now she's holding him to that. That is some heavy, heavy stuff.
She's effectively saying, "You made me live. You intervened in my fate. Therefore, my life is your problem now." It's a philosophical checkmate. She's presenting him with the consequences of his own heroic impulse.
That is a next level power play. To show up on your enemy's ship and declare yourself one of them because they wouldn't let you die. That's a character I want to know more about. That is super intriguing.
It is the single most disruptive thing that could have possibly happened to the crew at this moment. They're vulnerable, they're sad about Vivi, and now the embodiment of their last enemy is on deck, asking for a spot on the crew. She represents everything they just fought against: deceit, assassination, conspiracy.
This changes everything. This isn't like adding Chopper or Sanji. This is adding a known, incredibly dangerous former enemy who knows things about the world they can't even imagine. She knows about poneglyphs. She knows about the underbelly of the world. She's been partnered with a warlord. She's not an innocent. She's a survivor and probably a killer.
And it's all on Luffy's shoulders. What he decides in the next few moments will set the course for the rest of their journey through the Grand Line. It's his first major command decision that doesn't involve fighting an enemy, but accepting one.
What a way to end the saga. Just when you think the story is closing a chapter on Arabasta, it feels like a whole new book gets ripped open. It's a cliffhanger that reframes the entire arc we just finished.
An incredible ending. So many questions, so few answers. What is her real goal? Can she ever be trusted? How will the crew possibly integrate someone like her?
This chapter just leaves you reeling. If you've got thoughts on what Luffy should do or what Robin's real game is, definitely drop a comment. We want to hear every theory you've got.
All right, Franky, predictions for chapter 218. Where does this possibly go from here?
Okay, prediction 1. Luffy, being Luffy, says yes, instantly, no hesitation. He's just like, okay, and the rest of the crew completely loses their minds. Zoro and Nami will be the most against it. Usopp will be terrified. Sanji will be overjoyed. It'll cause the first major internal conflict in the crew. And Luffy will just stand there not understanding why everyone is so upset.
That feels very in character for him. He operates on pure instinct and reads people's core nature, not their history. My first prediction is that Robin will offer them something they can't refuse. Not treasure, but information. I think she'll reveal she can read the poneglyphs and know something about the true history. She will immediately make herself indispensable, appealing to the crew's long-term goals to short-circuit their short-term distrust.
Ooh, I like that. For my second one, I think we're going to get the crew's reaction in detail. I predict Usopp will try to fight her to test her loyalty, maybe with some new invention. He'll do his whole brave warrior of the sea bit, and she'll just effortlessly and comically tie him in a knot with her powers without even looking at him, just to establish the new power dynamic and show how far out of their league she is in some ways.
My second prediction is that we'll get a brief flashback. She'll say something that triggers a memory for Luffy, and we'll see a panel or two of what he actually said to her down in the tomb, the words that made her believe he was responsible for her. It won't be her whole backstory, not yet, but it will be a fragment that recontextualizes her request and shows us that Luffy's words had a profound, unintentional impact on her.
Oh, that would be perfect. Okay, last one from me. This is a bit of a longer shot. I think Sanji will be her biggest defender. He'll be won over by her beauty, obviously, but he'll also argue that anyone who can appreciate a good book and a bath can't be all bad. He'll be her first ally among the crew for completely the wrong reasons, and it will drive Zoro absolutely insane.
And my final prediction, a new, greater threat will emerge as a direct consequence of Arabasta. The Marines on Smoker's ship will get a call. They've failed to capture the Straw Hats. A warlord has been defeated by a rookie. The balance of power in the world is threatened. I think someone much higher up is going to get involved. The world is off balance, and they'll send a truly terrifying force to fix it.
A terrifying force? Bro, they are not ready for that. But after taking down a warlord, you're right, the world has to respond. What a spot to leave it on. We will see you all next time.